Hello and welcome to the MotorMotion E-Series Mercury Walch TCR Cup. And we continue our coverage of the 10 rounds here in 2025. Season 4 carries on tonight with both Lobby 1 and Lobby 2 action for your viewing pleasure. Remember to go and check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Discord, and of course www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. We are looking forward to this round very much because the walls are close, the tarmac is hot, and we are elevated in this stunning Tokyo Expressway. Our sponsor of the series, a massive thank you to Mercury Walch, proud sponsors of the MotorMotion E-Series TCR Cup. For commercial printing, digital printing, direct mail, label printing, large format printing and packaging, go and check them out on www.mercurywalch.com.au. The calendar, round 1, all done, it's behind us, but we stay in Japan because round 2 is at the Tokyo Expressway East Clockwise circuit, so a very, very long straight for our drivers to deal with today. 20 laps around this circuit, and round 1 was incredibly exciting. We got to see what people and which teams had figured out the tuning correctly, which maybe need to do a little bit of adjustment on their car, but now we go to a circuit that is the polar opposite of what we saw at Autopolis, and they're going to need a low downforce setup for that incredibly long straight. Taking a look at the standings as they are after round 1, it is Andrew Scott in the lead with 52 points, followed closely by Scott Taylor Gridline Racing on 50 points. Then it's Nick Pfaff for Astor Racing still in the fight in the early part of this season on 46 points, equal with Ryan Spann for Me Cougar. The two Me Cougar drivers already both in the top 4. They are on form. Then it's Mark Pacheco for Gridline Racing, sharing a similar amount of success with the Me Cougar guys, but Gridline Racing holding P2 and P5 in the driver standings, and then Campbell Knowles for Team 55 in P6. The team standings look like this: Me Cougar on top on 100 points, then it's Gridline Racing on 96 points, Astor Racing on 82, Yugen Global on 80 in 4th place, then 5th place Lightning Motorsport on 76, followed by Team Capital in P6. Who's going to come out on top today? Let's find out. And in the commentary box today, my name is George Cooke, and I'm going to be joined by a familiar name, a familiar voice, and someone who knows TCR in and out, Nick Pautasso, also known as Spud. Nick, welcome back to the commentary box and the TCR Cup.
Yes, great, George. Finally to be a part of the TrackSpot TV here at MotorMotion E-Series. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be back in the commentary booth for what is going to be an exciting round here for the TCR Cup. Season 4, sponsored by Mercury Walch. Very excited. I love this type of racing. Street racing is one of my favorites here on Gran Turismo 7. Getting right up on close onto the walls. Obviously, damage limitation with how close the barriers are, and these drivers are going to need that because these cars are quite tricky, as they are road cars, but tuned to be a race car. So it's all about getting that precision in the tuning side of things, and as well avoiding those barriers. So I'm very keen to see what happens in this event tonight.
It's going to be exciting. Of course, we've got the lobby switch tonight once again. So every single round, we have a new combination of cars. So in Lobby 1 this week, it's going to be Black Rose Racing, CP Motorsports, Lightning Motorsport, Mad Turtle Racing, Rusty Nuts Racing, and Team 55. And then Lobby 2, which will be coming up for you a little bit later on today, Astor Racing, Gridline Racing, Hassel 1 Motorsport, Me Cougar, Team Capital, and Yugen Global. So Lobby 2 looking like quite the heavyweight lobby today, but Lobby 1 should provide some extreme excitement as well. Some good races in amongst the crew there.
Absolutely, and you cannot deny that Lobby 1 is also going to be some great racing, as well as Lobby 2 coming up. But you look at the likes of the heavyweights, Black Rose Racing, CP Motorsports, Lightning Motorsports, the foundations of MotorMotion E-Series, all in the same lobby, whilst you have the newcomers in Mad Turtle Racing, who have raced previously, Rusty Nuts Racing with their trusty hands of Craig Harcourt, and Team 55. So you've got to keep an eye out on Campbell Knowles in that the Honda Civic Team 55 to be one of the favourites potentially to be on that top step of the podium. But we'll find out as we get to the end of the qualifying sessions.
Certainly will, and quality results will be up in a few moments' time. Circuit length here, 7.3 kilometers, that's 4.5 miles, with only 12 turns, technically speaking, if you count them. There's actually 13. But it's going to be that big, long straight between Sector 5 ending and Sector 1, into Turn 1 and 2, the double right-hander, through Sector 2, which you get the S's, basically, all the way through the rest of the circuit. Turns 3, 4, 5, 6, through under the bridge, and 7 and 8. Back out through 9 and 10, and then some really tricky sections. Turn 11 is going to be very, very difficult, both 10 and 11. Tricky to get right in the best of conditions. Then you're into the hard braking zone. Then it's 12 and 13, which is where we're going to see a lot of overtakes today, but expect the slipstream to be up there as well. Let's take a look at the qualifying results for Lobby 1. And it is Mitch Gray for Mad Turtle Racing who's put it on pole position with a 209.899. That is fantastic work by Mitch Gray, his first pole position in Season 4. Then it's Chris Farawapa for Lightning Motorsports, a 210.074. Marcel Albertin for Black Rose Racing, a 210.129. And Blake Durston, who seemingly has come out of the woodwork on this one, puts it in 4th place, 2nd row of the grid for CP Motorsport. Nice mix of teams at the top here.
Yeah, absolutely, and all brand new names to MotorMotion E Series. So this will be something that's going to really throw up some spice here in Lobby 1, especially with 4 different teams occupying that top 4. So keep an eye out on all those drivers. But as close as it is going to be around this track, slipstream is going to be important. It's very hard for overtaking as well. You kind of call it the Monaco of GT7, where you go through at the end of turns 1 and 2 through the whole back section, and you're going to get most likely down that hairpin. The only chance for an overtake, unless you get a really good run onto the really long front straight, pit straight. So watch out for a couple of moves, maybe a couple of indecisive moments, but we'll see how it all goes as we have Mitch Gray and Chris Farawapa going into that first section is 1 and 2 on the grid.
I think the key thing here is going to be minimizing mistakes. As you said before, it's an exciting circuit because the walls are right there. And we've seen this in the past. We saw this in TCR Season 3. We had an incredible race at the end. Multiple different strategies coming together on the last lap, with those in front being on really, really bad tires. And it was an absolute scrap. We had 3 wide into areas of the track where you can't go 3 wide, into braking zone, people diving in, going too deep, hitting the boundaries, getting damage. It was completely manic, but really, really exciting racing, and we're expecting to see quite a bit of that. So anywhere between turn 1 and turn 12, you make one little mistake, you miss a little bit of aero, maybe there's a bit of dirty air, don't think that's going to be a massive effect, or if you're running too little aero, you will find yourself in a wall, you find yourself losing positions hand over fist. So I think we're probably going to see a little bit of that today.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be through that section of corners when you get to 3 all the way up towards the hairpin. It's all single file. So all you're counting on is the driver ahead of you making a mistake, missing the braking points, understeering into the corner. And it's all up to the drivers behind to either not follow them or try and find the best way to make an overtake and try and get past that driver, because being held up here in traffic here, the pit window is very short as well, George. So the drivers have to keep that in mind. Being held up in traffic will not benefit your race at the end of the 20 laps.
That's right. And of course, medium tires required today, so there will be at least 1 or 2 pit stops that we'll see. 20 laps. Well, we're about to go down to the grid, so we'll see you over there. Here we are, lining up. It's Lobby 1, and it's time for round 2 to begin for Season 4 of the Mercury Walch TCR Cup here at MotorMotion. And 20 laps begins right now, and it is Gray off the line. And as Madness is his nickname in the Mad Turtle car, which is lagging us all out, no doubt. But a decent run off the line, under we go. It's a good section of the track. I really enjoy driving through here. The lights shining brightly, and it is Motorsport 32 in behind him in P2, looking a little bit under pressure already because there's Calculated Risk for Black Rose Racing coming right up onto the back of his rear wing, and into turn 1 will go in a short amount of time. You can see there's actually a reasonable amount of slipstream. As soon as he hits that wall of air, though, he's gone. And Motorsport 32 nudging ahead. He's got a little bit of a bumper. Into the braking zone we go. Doesn't want to hold it around the outside. That's a sensible idea. Got to get back online because you've got a corner coming up most rapidly after this. Madness still holding on beautifully for Mad Turtle Racing. Motorsport 32 doing very, very well as well, making a good Calculated Risk, and so is Calculated Risk back in P3. Then it's Aussie Heat in P4 for CP Motorsports, followed by the Oakley car. That's Troy Britnell and the Lightning Motorsport team in P5. Dubzito in P6. Jansen, our South African driver, in P7, followed by Blue Dog in P8. That's your top 8 right now. Through into this amazing underhill section. Will there be a mistake? There's a couple of bits of wall riding, Nick, and that is the area where it's going to happen, if any.
Oh, absolutely, a great start there. Very tentative start by all of the drivers there. So really good awareness from all the drivers on this opening lap here. No damage done on any of the drivers. The cars are still evenly close and matched to each other, with Mad Mitch in Mitch Gray leading the way. Madness is his name. He's the livery designer. He's the one that makes these spectacular liveries. Matt Tiller Racing, and we've got a car in the background that's gone straight into the wall, and he's got damage. Front bumper, rear bumper, and front left suspension. That is the cost of running too deep here in the walls at the streets of Tokyo, getting himself right up into the barrier there, and that is his first unfortunate mistake there. And dear oh dear, that is going to be one long transit down the pit lane, and a very strong move there by Aussie Heat to make that move on calculated risk, and gets himself up into P3. But the top 4 running away from the rest of the pack there, all within a slipstream's gap between each other, less than a second, and that slipstream along this front straight is going to be massive. But what a shocking start by one of the drivers in the Loctite and in the Loctite Honda Civic at the back there.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's, I think, Loctite or something like that. But nonetheless, Chris Farapapa is in P2 right now and trying to close in on the Mad Turtle car just ahead. A little bit of here and there between Calculated Risk and Aussie Heat, and there was a nice overtake at turn 12, as Nick pointed out. It didn't quite work out for that one. There's a bit of flashing lights as we go sector purple for sector 1 and into the braking zone once again for lap 2. Behind them, Jansen is someone I need to call out. He is absolutely on fire. Hasn't made a single mistake, but he's made a bunch of overtakes so far. It's gone up from, I believe, P8 or P7 on the grid. Now from the P5 and closing down this top pack of 4. So that's an impressive bit of driving from him so far. He is on the racing soft tyres, as is Aussie Heat, as is Calculated Risk. And I believe the top 2 also on the racing softs. They are indeed. Into the tricky section we go. We go left and we go right. There will be any mistakes. Let's see. This is where I always make mistakes. Even in my favorite McLaren race cars, I find myself quite solidly in the barrier there and out of a race rather quickly. But these guys looking very professional at the moment, and I make it through that section nice and successfully. So really, it's now this top pack of 7, Nick, that has started to really escape. Behind them, there's an absolute scrap going on. Dubzito on the medium tyre, trying to hold on to whatever position he can, but the aero damage, he's in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that pack of cars. Look at the gaggle of cars looking left, right, and centre. Around the outside goes Airbird, and Craig and Campbell Knowles makes a fantastic move on Dubzito in the Loctite Honda Civic. So it's a really nice move there. So 11 drivers here, all trying to negotiate a wounded Dubzito in P9, as we've got Craig Harcourt right down in 11th and last place, just right behind his teammate there, and Sam Robinson in Spark. So he's just holding on to the back end of his teammates going onto the back straight. But we have to think about Dubzito there. If he comes into the pit lane now, he's going to lose some time. But if he doesn't, he's going to lose even more time, because you can see the pack, you can see the mini map there. These drivers from 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, they have lost the whole field, and these guys are going to be in a race on their own. They're going to be battling for P9, so the points that they need to go for is higher up there, but at the same time, they cannot make any inroads on the front pack.
Here we go into turn 1. It's going to be a big braking move on the inside line for Chris Farapapa, but he does decide to back out of it. Probably a sensible move. Does actually clip the inside, so that the line was a bit too short. And that's the trickiness about those corners. If you do close off the line, it's really late apex on that turn 1. Even turn 2, you've got to be very careful on where you touch into that apex point. Otherwise, you find yourself losing time and inevitably getting damage if you hit the barriers too hard. Very unforgiving part of the circuit all the way through here. But yeah, as you said, there's definitely a good bit of scrapping going down the back there. Airborne's moved to kind of escape from that. The shenanigans happening from P8 down. Very, very key for his race, and he'll be moving up in the field. In the meantime, Aussie Heat has actually fallen behind Jansen, so Jansen has managed to get P4 away from the CP Motorsports driver, and now finds himself chasing incredibly quickly after Calculated Risk. So I don't know what he's on today, but he has had his Milo in the morning and a bunch of Wheat Bix, and he's absolutely going for it.
Well, if you're a South African, you'd be eating your biltong. I think that's what he's
Ah,
high on, Jensen. So he's going to be high on biltong, and he made a perfect move there on Aussie Heat. But from what I saw there in the background, he went too wide with Aussie Heat in Dirtston at turns 2, turn 3, all the way up to the braking zone in the back section of the track. They went side by side throughout the whole section of track. That was absolutely fantastic to see the camera work just pick up the back end of that battle between the two. But it is Jansen up into P4, now clearing away from Aussie Heats. But up into P2, Farah Papa is doing a really, really strong job, and Mitch Gray in the Mad Turtle Racing entry is just holding on. But these two have definitely run away from the rest of the field. Their calculator risk is quite a fair bit away behind. And here comes Farah Papa to make the move, the 35 on the 76 there. They're going to go side by side. Farah Papa is going to get late. Is going to try to get late on the brakes compared to Mitch Gray. But can he make the move when it comes down onto the braking zone as they get up towards the braking? It is going to be Farah Papa that does take the lead there and made that decision well before the braking zone. That was a nice move there, and great awareness there by Mitch to concede that position, but not also go into a heated battle.
yeah, this is the nice thing about being in a small battle like this. If you've got reasonably equal pace with your competitor, you can start to go back and forth with the slipstream and getting the overtakes as long as nothing major happens. So now it's over to Mitch Gray to work together with Chris Farapapa in the remaining part of this race. 16 laps to go. We're on lap 4 right now. Fastest lap is with Chris right now for Lightning Motorsport. So his team owner, Troy Britnell, will be, I'm sure, quite happy today. He's actually racing in place of Michael Brill, who's not racing today, as I understand it. Or is it Team 55? I will double check for Troy Britnell, because he's in there for Team 55. Maybe former owner. Maybe something's happened there. I'm not quite sure, but certainly Troy Britnell is the name that I would associate with the team owner traditionally of Lightning Motorsport. Potentially something's happened there. If anyone in chat does want to let us know exactly what happens, I'm sure Jeff will be on the buzzer at some point, Nick, to give us the correction, whatever way
Absolutely.
it ends up going. But certainly the Loctite car right now in the lead. And the question is going to be, we've had the sort of opening heroics, everyone's sort of figured out their positions. Now we've got to start to think about strategy. Clearly, these guys have got good setup in terms of their car. Jansen is on an absolute charge. He's actually managed to get past calculated risk as well. He's now under a lot of pressure from Aussie Heat. And it does look like the Mad Turtle cars are set up beautifully. Oh, it is.
Damage Heat has just got damage, so he definitely picked it up on this lap here, and Aussie Heat does not know that he's got damage, so he's pushing him all the way down this backstretch. So he's trying to get the maximum speed that he can from his Honda Civic, but at the same time he's losing time just being stuck behind calculator risk, because you want to make sure you get past him when you get up in towards turn 2 right now, as we have Mitch now going back for the lead ahead of Chris Farapapa. Back into P1 goes Mitch Gray, but yeah, at the same time, Aussie Heat just doesn't know calculator risk has got damage, and I'm sure someone from team headquarters needs to let him know. And there you go, he's actually made the move now on calculator risk. And now it's up to Aussie Heat to try and see if he can close up on Jansen. But flash of the headlights there, you can definitely tell. Well, from what I know from experience there, flash of the headlight means that the driver is on a controller. Obviously, you're trying to go full lock on the joystick there, and then it does activate the flash of the headlights. So anytime you see flashing headlights, he's not furious, he's not angry. He's just on a controller.
So I would be mapping one button for flashing the headlights. Oh, the body language of this CP Motorsports car. Durston is looking a little bit here and there. The car is moving sideways, and now the damaged car of calculated risk, the Black Rose Racing Honda Civic, is all over the back of him. So this has not been a clean securing of the overtake by Aussie Heat just yet. He's going to need to really straighten up his driving to make sure that he can secure this and build that gap, try and catch back up to Jansen. We'll see exactly what happens, but what I was saying is I would just map the horn and the lights to the same button, and then just keeps pressing that. Maybe map it to the accelerator. We did hear that a little bit ago at turn 12 in the backpack. Someone was on the horn. These are, of course, commercial road cars, so there is a horn on the Honda Civics.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'd be wondering about like someone makes a really unfair move. It's just like our roads here in Australia. Like someone cuts you off or someone makes an overtake because and they chopped your nose off. Of course you'd be blaring the horn. Why not? That's just a common courtesy just to show your appreciation of what they did to you.
Appreciation of the yeah, okay, well, let's not dive into that one, but absolutely that is standard Aussie behavior. In fact, to be honest, it's standard in New Zealand as well. I think it's pretty standard all over the world, except in maybe India, where the horn is actually used as a safety feature, ironically. Here we go, a little battle going on between Michael Brill, who is in the car today, my apologies, you can see his name on the side of the number 12, and he's being overtaken by Spark, who's absolutely going for it. And that is a decent overtake. Question is, will he be able to hold it? Because he's overtaken rather early on the straight.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's also got front splitter damage. So just like Dubzito in Michael Brill has got damage on his car, you've got Spark also sharing some damage as well. So a lot of drivers here are copping it, and the opening few laps here, we're already on lap 6 of 20, and I've already seen half the grid with some sort of damage. Obviously, the top four rather, don't have damage on their cars. The first one being is in the hands of Calculated Heats. He's the only one that's got damage on his car, but a lot of drivers so far are really struggling just to tame these cars around these sections of the walls here at Tokyo, whether they just gone a little bit too deep on the brakes. It's just the understeer. As these cars are front-wheel drive, front-engine, front-wheel drive cars, they do tend to have a lot of understeer. So you can see there, it's just clipped the wall there, and it's not strong enough to register damage, but a little clip here and there, and a few more times, it's gonna potentially light up the charts, then light up the damage radar icon is going to say, unfortunately, you've clipped too hard, and you're going to have some front left suspension damage.
And I think it's one of those things where it damages your confidence. And at street racing, oh dear, Stubbsito going slightly into the wall as he moves back into position to tackle turn 10, I believe that is. It's a confidence hit as well, isn't it? You know, it takes a lot of confidence and a lot of knowledge of, you know, the boundaries of your car, how big it is, how much it's going to slow down, how much it's going to turn, and that's entirely dependent on the tuning and the state of the tires. For those who haven't done the practice, they're going to be finding that their confidence is going to get drained at a rather quick rate where they make those small mistakes, and that'll all add up over the course of the race, and eventually you find yourself making even bigger mistakes. I've won races here, Nick, due to me not making any mistakes and just managing to keep the confidence up. As we do see, the first person into the pits is Aussie Heat, who was carrying damage. She was on the racing softs there, not too much fuel remaining in the car either. So he'll be back up in a few moments' time. Going to get at least 80 litres on board, I'm sure. Here's Airborne trying to make an overtake on Troy. No, not on Troy Britnell. Yes, on Troy Britnell, and Airborne is ahead. So they overtook just at the moment that the broadcaster switched up a position on the replay. And there we go, a little bit of changing in position for these two in Team 55. And this is one of the most notable liveries on the grid. Absolutely shiny as anything, which is great because it's a beautiful sunny day here at Tokyo Expressway. Some of the shots on track absolutely stunning. You can see the glinting of the sun coming off the side of these incredibly shiny cars. And how appropriate, Nick, to have the Honda Civics at Tokyo Expressway.
Absolutely, it's like it's come home. The Honda brand, the Honda manufacturer here, racing in the street circuits of Tokyo on the highways of Tokyo, Japan. But as you're saying, like obviously with the customer service of Team 55 and Lightning Motorsport, it looks like Troy Britnell has actually he gave up his main seats at Lightning Motorsport to create Team 55 to give drivers like Farah Papa and Michael Brill an opportunity to feel what it's like racing in the top team. But at the same time, Troy got himself a great driver in Campbell Knowles, obviously backing up the partnership that they've had in the Manufacturer Cup in the Mazda's as in the previous season. But at the same time, it's all about, you know, sharing the data, sharing setups, which setup works for which driver, where you need to gain time, where we're losing time. And obviously for a driver like Campbell Knowles, fairly experienced, Troy Britnell as well, an experienced driver here at MotorMotion E Series, but to have a top driver like Campbell Knowles in your team is always good. You know, always good to get relay some data, relay some driving techniques, driving styles, and obviously at the same time just sharing just showing a good partnership, and that's what these guys have been able to do, backing themselves up. But it looks like both the the Team 55 boys are coming into the pit lane, and most notably, their Airburn has already used the medium tires, so that's his stint done. Was he going to go
Yeah.
soft for the finish?
He might well do. I mean, this is interesting to use the mediums when the fuel's going to be, running pretty low. He's actually saved quite a bit of fuel throughout the stint, so I don't quite know how this strategy is going to go. We've got our formerly leader and then also P2. Motorsport 32, it's Chris Farapapa, has decided to fill up completely, and he's actually lost a position to Jansen. So Jansen's done enough. He's clearly saved enough fuel as well to get that delta in the pit lane. Has done it beautifully and now finds himself technically in P2 overall, waiting for our race leader in Madness to come across the line and inevitably pit probably this lap. We'll do a double check on the strategy in a few moments' time. Yeah, shout out to Campbell Knowles as well, man that I know personally. Driver in the New Zealand Esports Racing Series as well, racing against like the likes of GD World Series drivers in the New Zealand competition like Simon Bishop and Matthew McEwen and Tom England. So great to see him getting involved in the MotorMotion E-Series. Jansen, a little bit of a tap of the wall, softs for him. That'll lose him a bunch of speed, and that's an opportunity for Chris Farapapa to maybe overtake, but I wouldn't be overtaking in this section of the track. That's a scary place to go side by side. They managed to do it somehow, but he's still attacking.
Oh, that's some class racing there between the two boys going hard at it, but they're just going to be losing time to Mad Mitch. If they fight too much, they're going to lose time to the man that is leading the race if he decides to come into the pit lane right now. Lap 8 of 20, so a really good stint here by Mad Mitch in Mitch Gray, the leader of Mad Turtle Racing. So we'll wait and see what he does, because obviously these guys are pitting on lap 7. There he comes, 0% fuel, so just made it on the scruff of an oily rag there, has Mad Mitch in position 1. At the same time, you have to remember as well that these guys, you have to look at the numbers as well. The first driver that came into the pit lane was on lap 6. So if you do the maths, you're looking at drivers that pit on lap 6 to get to their driver windows, lap 6 to lap 12, lap 18. They're going to have to do a splash and dash. But you look at drivers that pitted on lap 7, they've got quite a clean run to the end here with probably a short stint in one of their stints. But Mitch Gray, for example, pitted at the end of lap 8, commencing of lap 9. He's actually in a good position here to actually short fuel the car, and that's exactly what he's done. He's short fueled it, and he's going to probably potentially have a good run to get to the end of this race. So he's looking to try and pit around about that critical number, which is around about lap 13, lap 14 of this race, to try and get a full tank of fuel, fresh set of boots, and run to the end. And look what he's done. He's on medium tires, 50% fuel. So he's filling the requirements here, George, and he wants to go for that soft finish.
Yeah, it's something we've seen many, many times. Not so much this season, but certainly in the previous seasons, where you want to be on that slower tire as little time as possible. For those who were running the medium for 6, 7, 8 laps, you're spending more time on a slower tire, and you might be saving a bit of fuel while doing it, but at the end of the day, I think what Mitch is doing here is a pretty clever move. Yet to see if it's a 200 IQ move or it's a 2 IQ move. We will see, but it certainly seems logical to me. He'll do this 3 or 4 or 5 maybe laps on the medium tire to shorten the amount of time, gives him the gap, gives him the clean air. He's not fighting with anyone anymore. He's not able to work with anyone, admittedly, though, I have to say. But he can come in, he can splash and dash, get enough fuel on board for the end, racing softs, and then you've spent, what, 14, 15 laps of this race on the faster tire. That's just going to gain you overall race time. And it's something that you, me, Andrew, and the other commentators as well at TrackSpot have talked about a bunch. You've got, in these strategic races, it's about overall race time, not your individual lap time.
Correct, and you can also see there, you can see the gap he's got over his teammate in Jansen. So while Mitch is coming up towards the hairpin, these guys are still duking it out for P2. Some great racing between Jansen and Farapapa in position 2 for the battle for P2. But you can see there, with that short splash of fuel, he's come out with a huge buffer to his teammate. So they're a Mad Turtle Racing 1-2, followed by the Lightning Motorsports with Farapapa at the wheel, Aussie Heat in position 4, calculator risk in P5. But we have to look at the factor that the second and third place drivers have to put on the medium tires, but Mitch has already used them now. So whilst Jansen and Farapapa are going to be going a lot faster than Mitch, you can see the gap between those three drivers. It is massive. So this could potentially be a great strategy here for the team leader of Man Turtle Racing.
Yeah, and this is huge. I mean, Jansen coming out in P2 gets to basically slow down Chris Farahpapa all the way through the remainder of this race, and that's going to be absolutely perfect for Madness to get it, to really secure the lead that he's got. He's got a big gap right now. We know that's because of the pit lane delta, the difference in time spent in there. But this is going to be interesting for Mad Turtle Racing. It's really their race to lose at this stage. We're now on lap 10 out of 20 for Lobby 1. Aussie Heat has decided not to repair the damage. It's cost him a position. No, he's holding that, I believe, from his first stint, Nick. I don't think he got that repaired.
No, he only got fronts, but from what I remember was front splitter damage. We'll have to check our replays after the race to see what happened, but I feel like he only had front splitter damage and the suspension just came out of nowhere. Obviously, it was calculated risk that had all the damage on his car. So it's now a bit of a role reverse. Calculator risk has cleared up his damage. He's fixed it up in the pit lane. Aussie Heat has now got damage on his car and he's losing ground to the man in the Black Rose Racing entries. So this could be a big mistake here by the CP Motorsport driver. But again, because they are short races as well, making an extra pit stop just to fix up damage is not really worth it. So I can feel these guys running a long time on track with damage, but at the same time, you're just losing time.
Yeah, well, this is why I had assumed that the damage was carried over, but I think you're absolutely... I mean, maybe he did carry over the front splitter damage, and he's done it again into the wall, just anticipating the apex a little bit too early. So I wonder if he's carried the front splitter damage and then picked up that left front damage at some point. I mean, given the way that things are going, he's on the medium tire now, so whichever way it goes, obviously the medium tire not quite gelling with his driving style at the moment. I mean, it's a tricky change to make, especially at a circuit like this. But you've got to make these changes. You've got to adjust to it. Other than that, the strategy is identical to our leader.
Yeah, exactly right. You can just see there, just through the turn 12, you can see how much he was struggling to get through the turn 12 hairpin. Like he just literally hugged the whole inside of the hairpin, and that's one of the slowest ways you can actually take the hairpin here at the Tokyo Expressway. You have to really go really deep on the brakes and just hook it around the corner like a slingshot effect. So you can see he's definitely struggling there. Campbell Knowles is right back there, but we've got a fast action to Dub Zito, who's cleared all of that damage now. You can see the flash of the headlights, the hazard lights acknowledging the bump draft. Obviously, bump drafting is not illegal here at MotorMotion E-Series. You can use it as much as you can. You can just see there, absolutely just giving him some and just like saying, come on, let's make a move. But now he's going to pull out off the slipstream, down the inside of turn 1, makes the move stick, but Graham Splint's going to try and hold it around the outside. That's where all the marble build-up is, and he's clipped the barriers there. And that is Dub Zito up into P7. So he's cleared all the damage now, George, and he's now on the charge. So from what we saw him high up as P4, is now slowly making the charge up to the back end of Cameron Knowles' Team 55 Honda Civic.
Yep, that's right. Of course, a difference in tyres between these two as well. Racing mediums for Blue Dog, Dub Zito on racing softs at the moment. So they've gone with a half-fuel strategy, both of these guys. So that is clearly... Oh, dear. That is another clip of the barrier. Luckily gets away with no damage. Just pulled it in, but he was on course to really ping-pong off those walls. So racing medium tyres, not the fun tyre to be on, especially once you've started on softs. So maybe advantage there for Campbell Knowles, gets the bad tyre out of the way, then just gets to run the softs to the end of the race and doesn't have to worry about really adjusting to the tyres, just accept the fact that you've got no grip at the start of the race. And it's another big bit of momentum. And I do wonder if maybe this is just a bit of a characteristic of the way CP Motorsports have tuned the car, because we're seeing the same thing from his teammate. The car just doesn't really look that settled. And then suddenly you're finding yourself in a spot of trouble. So Aussie Heat now is the one really being the cork in the bottle, so to speak, with the damage on the racing medium. The car not operating necessarily in the way that he wants it to. Be a good idea for us to keep an eye on what the rear camber, the rear wheel camber is. So that looks rather flat to me. And we've seen so far, Nick, as you would have seen in round 1, extra camber at the rear seems to be the play.
But definitely not for the tracks, not for the streets of Tokyo. You definitely need the tires to be making full contact patch on these straights, on these fast winding corners. So you'll be looking at some different styles of combat, of tuning. But yeah, you're definitely right there. I'm definitely keen to see on some of the fast lap times there. Aussie Heat has really caught up massively. He's gone past Blue Dog and Graham Splint, but can he make the move on Campbell Knowles here? Going to turn one. Can this be a 2-for-1 for Dub Zito? No, he's too far back to make the move, but I'm very keen to see what Dub Zito's lap time was on the previous one. So we've got a 2-minute 12.8 from Campbell Knowles, but 2-minute 10.8, 2-minute 10.8 for Dub Zito. So racking in some fastest lap, but that's just under 2 seconds faster than Campbell Knowles. So you can definitely see he's using that soft tires to great effect. Obviously, the tire wear is massive. Um, at the same time, he's really closing in massively, but he's yet to put on the racing medium tires. But also, what I've just noticed, and I've only just picked this up as well, George, Campbell Knowles has jumped on the medium tires again. So I've only just
Yeah.
picked this up. I've only just picked this up right now. I didn't think of it until I saw that he was actually on the mediums, thinking, why is his pace not the same? But you look at the pace from lap 3 before he made his pit stop on lap 7. It's the same lap times. So he's stuck on the same tires for the Team 55 Honda Civic.
I wonder if that's a mistake, because generally speaking, that is not the play that you'd expect. I mean, he's not run to lap 10. He's pitted on lap 7. So he's not run it halfway. That's usually due to fuel. He's half fueled the car as well. Here goes Zito looking for a move. Doesn't get it into turn 12. But that is a deep, deep maneuver for Campbell Knowles. And oh, they nearly come together as they go through the exit. But they
The
do
alternate
get
line.
themselves the alternate line. Yeah, the very, very alternate. We're going to switch lanes. Good luck, everyone else. Maneuver there. But yeah, Campbell Knowles does manage to get the car wrangled back into the end of the corner. That is our leader. Once again in the pits, so he is going to be fueling up, and I'm assuming at this point, Nick, full fuel, let's go, soft tires. And it's
Absolutely.
soft tires. There we go. Yeah, as expected.
So soft tires, 8 laps. He knows he can make eight laps there. He did pit on the end of lap 8 before the commencing of lap 9, so he's good to the end of this race. But you have to keep an eye on Jansen and Motorsport. Still running 1 and 2, and they can see on the minimap there how close they are on the battle pack there. But the Campbell Knowles and Dub Zito still close to each other. But Dub Zito on the softer tires, can he make the move on the inside? Shows the nose, doesn't get the move done, just has to tuck back in to turns towards the turn 2 double right-hander, and still behind Campbell Knowles. So he's not able to execute a move at all. 2-minute 11.5. Campbell Knowles set his fastest lap of 2-minute 12.5 on his last lap. So it's still a second faster than Campbell Knowles, but he's just being held up here, unfortunately, for Dub Zito. So this is not the strategy that he wanted, and the 10% like this lap, he will need to come into the pits.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, he's running low on fuel, is Dub Zito. He's trying everything he can do, but Campbell Knowles is defending so intelligently. This is great defensive driving from Campbell Knowles. He's showed this in all the series he's in. We've got a little battle going on between Blue Dog and Aussie Heat as well behind, but the racing soft tires, they're starting to get to the end of their life, and that's nearly a second that he's losing per lap being held up by Airborne. So Airborne, I wonder if he's really just in there to be a defensive master at the moment. Certainly he's doing incredibly well, hitting all the corners, hitting all the apexes, and such intelligent defending through those S's sections, because the truth is that a 2-second advantage, which is the tire advantage between the softs and the mediums, should, even on those squiggly bits where it's really not ideal to overtake, should equal an overtake. But Airborne has done incredibly well to keep that car behind him for a number of laps, and Dub Zito he'll be in. Absolutely, he'll be in. There's no way he can go another lap on that amount of fuel. So expect to see the car come into the pits, and does so. So there we go. Airborne, a successful defense so far. He's got 2 CP Motorsports cars behind him. And here's the lineup as we head into the 14th lap of this race. Jansen and Chris Farapapa are still in the battle. Both on racing soft tires, both on the same strategy, same amount of fuel, so it is even Stevens, as is their lap times, all in the sort of mid to high 2-minute 10s at the moment. They've been glued together at the hip by super glue, and then there's Calculator Risk in P3. He's on an alternative strategy at the moment. Racing soft tires a little bit fresher than the others, as he scrapes the wall, takes a little bit of paint off the car, exposes the underbody. And that fuel is looking relatively healthy. Whether or not he's got enough to go to the end is going to be the question. And I think, Nick, he probably does.
It's a little bit of a tough one because we saw the same with Airburn, with Campbell Knowles. He's running on some good fuel numbers as well, but Calculator Risk, he did pit on the end of lap 8. I, from memory, I don't think he's run the medium tyre. So I think what he's trying to do here is really extend his stint out here on these soft tyres and run potentially 4 laps, 3, 4 laps on the medium tyres, and just try on a low fuel tank as well to try and get to the end as fast as he can. So it could work out for him because he did suffer damage in the first stint. As we see a wide moment there, you can see the tyres are going on Calculated Risks Black Rose Racing Honda Civic, and he's really struggling to balance that car out. But we have Campbell Knowles, and then our leader, our provisional leader, Mitch Gray, the leader of Mad Turtle Racing in P5, fuel to the end, tyres to the end of the race, and clear traffic. And here comes the front two, George.
Here we go. They're in the pits. I just want to call out this fastest lap by Mitch Gray. This is absolutely stonking stuff. It's 2:09.4, which is about a second and a bit. Quite a bit, actually. Faster than most people's average lap time. So that was on lap 5, of course. So he's trying to escape the pack and try and build the gap that he needed to execute this strategy. But here we go. He's coming down into the tunnel. 50% fuel on board for Motorsport 32 and Jansen. These are the two who I believe will be fighting for that top position, but there's the overspeed. Will they be coming out? No, they're not. Oh, Jansen's coming out now. Through goes our leader in Madness. Has he done it? He's done it. So this strategy working out well. The problem is he's going to have a tyre deficit towards the end of the race, but Jansen and Motorsport not separated by too much. Little bit of an increase in the gap, and medium tyres, of course, for the two of them. So will they have the pace versus softs that are starting to wear out? This is going to be the battle. This is going to be the question that we're all going to be asking all the way through. Airborne will have to come into the pits at some point soon. Calculate the risk. We think he's going to try a splash and dash onto the medium tyre to meet his mandatory requirement at the end of this race, but 5 laps to go. It's been great so far. Lots of different strategies coming out to play, and this is only Lobby 1. We've got Lobby 2 coming up for you all after this race as well. We'll go through the results and get ourselves primed for what's going to be a very exciting battle, because we've got Gridline Racing and Me Cougar, the two leaders in the team's title, battling it out in Lobby 2. It's going to be an exciting one. Nonetheless, we go back to the racing, and it was Mitch Gray leading the way, and this strategy has worked out incredibly well.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the calculations were done to get lap 8 on the car and the fuel tank as well, and the tyres as well, to get the tyres into lap 8 in working to get the distance as well as the fuel tank. Is absolutely spectacular from the Mad Turtle boys. Jansen, I've just noticed as well, he's put in less fuel than Farah Papa as well. So he put in 84%, whilst Farah Papa put 89%. So 5% difference between the fuel. That's why the gap is massive between these two drivers. We saw them neck and neck going into the pit lane, but the fuel difference played a crucial part here. Whether it's going to play a crucial part for some of these drivers when it comes to the final lap, we'll find out in due time whether Jansen will need to fuel save, or whether Farah Papa has put too much fuel in that car and he's lost all of that speed, all of that momentum, and the consistency that he had running in the rear wing, behind the rear wing of Jansen, could potentially become a hindering factor for him.
Good indeed. Into the pits comes Airborne. Fresh tyres will go on. A little bit of fuel will go into the car as well. I'm assuming at this stage it's got to be softs. We'll keep an eye and see as we get Jansen and Motorsport 32 go on through. But right now, Mad Turtle looking very strong. This is an extra 2 points in the team's title if both their drivers finish in the top 3, which at the moment is looking like is going to happen. So that is great for their racing. Out comes Campbell Knowles, and let's see what the tyre choice is. Got to be softs, surely. It's racing softs. Okay, so he's done the sensible thing. 2 medium stints. I still don't know if that's the right play, but if calculated risk has to come in, there's a chance that he picks up P4.
There is a chance as well, but at the same time, Calculator Risk will try to make that Honda Civic as wide as possible with a short splash of fuel, and where he's placed on the track map compared to where Campbell Knowles is, who's only slowly coming up towards the first right-hander at turn 1. It's going to be very close. I think potentially Calculator Risk has just got this, but on the medium tyres, we have to wait and see with 2 laps to go. And even on the final lap, George, I'll be keen to see what Campbell Knowles' speed is like on the soft tyres. He's actually got some good pace. He had some good consistency on those medium tyres, all 2-minute 12s on that medium tyre. But as we can see there, calculator risk has got a 2-minute 13.1. So those soft tyres are running low and running out of energy on the front end of the car. 2-minute 12, 2-minute 11s consistently. So is kind of just struggling a little bit just to hold on to this car on this in lap because he can see the fuel there. He needs to come in right now. 4 laps of fuel and the medium tires. It's going to be close between him and Campbell Knowles. I can definitely see that. As we see Campbell Knowles as well, you can see calculator risk is coming to the pit lane right now, and Campbell Knowles has got one more sector to do before he gets onto the pit straight.
Here we go. This will be interesting to see what happens. Calculator risk, of course. Nice to see him back here for the TCR Cup, driving for Black Rose Racing. Once again, he's become a little bit of a household name, a small house name, maybe a mobile house name, so to speak, this year. Been involved in, I believe, the Carrera Cup and the Manufacturer Masters. Or he might not have been in the Manufacturer Masters, but nonetheless, you saw him in the GT3 Champs, I believe, last year. So good to see him back, and we make all the jokes because he did all these risky strategies and was incredibly quick. So we said he's taking the calculated risk again, really just keeping to his name. And he's taken some incredibly good risks that have worked out incredibly well for him. So we'll see if this one does. He's out of the pits, and he's, got a decent gap. I'd say that's a pretty decent gap. The question is going to be, does he have the pace to hold off Airborne, who we will see next lap what his actual pace on the racing softs is. If he's able to do 2-minute 10s, maybe even a cheeky 2-minute 9, there is a possibility to catch up. But then again, calculator risk, he is a consistent driver, he's relatively quick, and certainly in these racing medium tyres, he'll be able to use this car to maximum effect. A little bit of a slide there through turn 2. So we'll see what happens. I think there's potential for Airborne to catch up, but at the moment, it doesn't look like it's going to swing his way. Looking at the rest of the field, Dubzido on the racing soft tyres had a miserable start to this race, ended up in the wall with massive damage, took him all the way back to last place. He's battled back very valiantly throughout the race. Then it's Aussie Heat and Blue Dog both having a little bit of an inter-team spat at the moment, only on the race course. They're good friends in real life, of course, but CP Motorsports really battling with itself for 7th and 8th at the moment. But look at who's lurking. It is Troy Britnell in P9, who's holding off Spark, who's just gone to the wall, unfortunately, as well. So the Rusty Nuts Racing team, both of them, unfortunately, bringing up the rear of the field. Nice to see some alternating liveries here. Same livery. Oh, dear. Rusty's not going to like that we picked that one up on camera. But the red car and the green car between Spark and Rusty. So same livery overall. There's a little bit of latency through there. And a wall clip. Oh. Okay, we'll rapidly move on from these guys shortly. Might have been latency. Let's call it latency, because that is a big shunt and there's no damage register. I think a shunt like that would usually register a little bit of damage, but certainly nice to see the alternating liveries from these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, if Christmas would come early, they would probably be able to get a nice setup on the Rusty Nuts Racing Honda Civic. But it's been struggling, unfortunately, here and in the last round. They showed some really good pace at round 1 and are topless through the qualifying stages, getting themselves as high up as P4 with Craig Harcourt, the team boss of Rusty Nuts Racing. But unfortunately, it's just they can't really turn that into race pace. Sadly, down in 10th and 11th place. So a lot of homework to do for the boys in the R&R camp to try and get themselves up towards the front of the field in the long term for the racing strategies. But yeah, it's very nice to see the liveries. We can see the distinct liveries of the CP Motorsports, the classic blue and white with big fat CP Motorsports on the side there. Or some great sponsorship there. And Chase has been in this industry and the sim racing industry since 2019, and he's been working hard to get all the sponsorship and getting all the drivers involved. He's got a whole heap of talent in the squad as well, and they are some quality drivers. So with the likes of Aussie Heat and Blue Dog really just trying to get some sort of guidance from their far experienced drivers and some faster drivers in there, top caliber drivers. It'll definitely help them out in the long term, and hopefully they might be able to get some setup tips from their experienced teammates in the back end of things. But Brits Lightning with the fastest lap there. I'm surprised there. 2-minute 9.2. I only just saw that pop up now. Fastest lap for Troy Britt. Now that has come out of nowhere. Where's this pace come from?
No, it's obviously something he's been keeping up his sleeve. He's trying to slice through the CP Motorsports guys right now, but misjudged a gap on the exit of turn 2 and has picked up right front damage as a result of that. And he's actually clipped the wall again. Blue Dog goes into the rear of the car. So he's becoming the smashed meat in the sandwich at the moment, unfortunately, for Troy Britnell. So that pace probably won't be returning unless he can pull another rabbit out of his hat. But a 209.261, that is a fantastic lap. 2/10 faster than what Mitch Gray was able to do on lap 5. But yeah, he's got a tricky little job here to get past these two CP Motorsports guys. He might get it done here. Racing soft tires, of course. I think these other guys are running racing softs. Yes, I think mediums for Blue Dog. Does manage to squeeze on by there on the entry to turn 12. Will they be a reverse move? A big lunge? There's a look. There's a massive look. He's had a proper squiz at that one, taken a few photos for good measure. And I tell you, that was never going to work.
Nah, definitely not there, but Aussie Heat is going to have a little bit of momentum there. Yes, he went deep on the brakes, but you can see there flash of the headlights on a pit straight, so you can definitely see that something wasn't happy. A potential move under the brakes from Troy Britnell. Could be something that the stewards might be looking at, moving under the brakes, going into the braking zone, but he's definitely lost a bit of time to Troy Britnell. That's Troy up into P7 with his teammate. He's still in P5. You can see the minimap. It is closing a little bit between Campbell Knowles and Calculated Risk, but I think it's too little too late, and they might be settling their positions in. But Campbell Knowles, a great job, 2-minute 10.379, so not the same pace as his teammates, which is actually very interesting to know that the pace difference between Airburn and Troy Britnell is actually quite was quite unexpected from what I would think. I would always think Campbell Knowles would have a little bit more pace than Brits Lightning, but Brits Lightning being the veteran of MotorMotion E Series and TCR Cup, so he definitely knows his way around a front-wheel drive sedan.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things, you're often not exercising your full capabilities in terms of pace in a race like this. There's so much fuel and tire strategy to go into this, and then all coupled with the tuning being on, you have to drive these cars in a very specific way. Andrew Scott talked a lot about that in round 1 with us in the comms box, and he's saying, if you're driving at your maximum, you might be doing something else to your tires and to your fuel that are going to really curtail your ability to go full racing. So I think Troy Britnell might be just going, well, we haven't got the greatest result with his position at the moment. Might as well slap on a new pair of softs, so I have to. And you just go for it. We saw some good qualifying times that were around the 209s for this lobby, but 209.2 was not the pole position time as I remember it.
No, 209.8.
Yeah, so we're 6/10 faster in this scenario here today. Fantastic stuff. But either way, for Team 55 and Lightning Motorsport, this is a good day to be in one of those teams right now. An even better day being in a Mad Turtle car. 500 images go into making this turtle and the livery. Absolutely brilliant work. It's one of our favorites, always has been. The design has upgraded and changed over the years, and there's so much attention to detail. You really can't do it justice when you're watching the car drive past. You've got to just stop the game and do a walk around. It's the only way to really appreciate the detail of the livery. But Mad Turtle, it's their day today in Lobby 1. It's the final lap of the race and the final few corners to be navigated now for Mitch Gray, who's led from pole position to the checkered flag at this stage, assuming nothing goes wrong. Cuts it close on this final lap. He's got plenty of time to play with. Take it easy out there, Mitch. Watch those racing soft tires. Don't hit the wall. Don't screw this up. But Jansen as well on the racing medium tires at the end, following the same strategy as Chris Farapapa. And that's worked out beautifully for the Mad Turtle guys. Chris Farapapa, of course, a great job by him for Lightning Motorsport. That's a bunch of good points for his team. And Troy will, I'm sure, be a very happy team owner in this scenario. Right to the edge of fuel for this man right here, and it'll be a 1-2 for Mad Turtle Racing. Exciting times with the lobby switches. This is what happens. You get a chance to race against every other team, and sometimes you get a chance to really pull it together and win races. The setup's been right, the driving's been right, the strategy's been absolutely spot on for Mitch Gray, and across the line he will come in the 676 car, and that is it. Your winner in Lobby 1 is Mitch Gray. Take a bow. That is a great job, a great effort throughout the entire day. His teammate Jansen will come across the line in P2, and that is a 1-2 for Mad Turtle Racing. The only other team to do that so far this season has been me, Cougar. So echoing the greats, the 3-time world champions for TCR Cup, Madness and Jansen taking that P1, P2. Motorsport 32, Chris Pautasso for Lightning Motorsport in the 35 car in P3. Great job. Then it's Calculated Risk. Airborne will finish it out in P5. Didn't make enough progress there. And Dub Zito, a great drive back for him. Give us a second and we'll jump over to our results. There you have it. Great opening race for tonight's round 2 at Tokyo Expressway East Clockwise, and what a circuit and some good stuff. The strategy execution, absolutely a talking point for us today. Mitch Gray, of course, taking P1, followed by Lyle Rensburg, and that is Jansen, of course, from South Africa. 46 points for him, 52 for Mitch Gray, because he got qualifying pole as well. Chris Pautasso in P3, 44 points. Marcel Beltin for Black Rose Racing, number P4 there, and 42 points to his name. Campbell Knowles in P5, and Michael Brill rounding out your top 6. So that's your top 6 race results in Lobby 1. Nick, time for you to get thrown under the bus. Let's talk driver of the day.
Well, it's very hard to think if, it's definitely looking at driver of the day, but I think I want to go team of the day. I feel like, we might spice things up a little bit here. And I think if I'm going to go team for the day, it's going to definitely be Mad Turtle Racing for both Mitchell Gray and Lyle Rensburg. But I think driver, I'll definitely have to give it to Rensburg in Jansen, the South African, coming from back down the field. From about position 8 all the way up to P2. So that's a very strong drive there for Rensburg and Jansen, our South African driver here in the Mercury Walch TCR Cup. So he's done a very good job. Strategy was on point. The pace was there. So if you thought that he had some good pace in the race, now he needs to try and see if he can tidy up his qualifying. He had a good qualifying in Autopolis. Race pace wasn't there, but now it's the role reverse. He had some really good race pace, but qualifying was just a little bit inconsistent there. So he needs to just try and tidy up a few little things here for the next round in round 3. And we'll be able to see him up towards the front and actually maintain that. So for me, it's going to be Rensburg that is driver of the day here for Lobby 1 and round 2.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think unanimous agreement on the team's driver of the day. Team of the day, we don't usually do that, so breaking the mold a little bit, but I think, yeah, unequivocally, Mad Turtle absolutely performed beautifully. I'm going to give it to Mitch Gray, pole position, win the race, no massive incidents throughout the race, so that's a perfect weekend for Mitch Gray. His first victory in TCR Cup as well, so hats off to Mitch Gray. Let us know in chat. You are watching on YouTube for both the TrackSpot TV YouTube and the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube. Give us a little hint. Who do you think your driver of the day is for Lobby 1? Some housekeeping items, of course. The Mercury Walch TCR Cup. Go check them out. www.mercurywalch.com.au for all your printing and labeling needs. And of course, MotorMotion E-Series as well. www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com if you want to get involved. Lots of racing still to come this year. Plenty of action and a great racing community. One of the best for GD7 in the Oceania, if not the world. Go and check them out on the website, on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Discord. Broadcast, of course, brought to you by TrackSpot TV. If you need broadcasting services or want to join a commentary and broadcasting team, go and check out www.trackspot.tv. All right, Nick, well, that was a very exciting opening round, and that just bodes incredibly well for Lobby 2. We are going to take a 5-minute break, so stay with us. Grab a sake or an Asahi. Grab yourself a beverage, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes' time. See you soon. Hello and welcome back to the MotorMotion E-Series Mercury Walch TCR Cup. And it is Season 4, Round 2. Back in the commentary box for Lobby 2, it is myself, George Cooke, and Nick Pautasso. Nick, we saw some good stuff in Lobby 1. It makes me super excited for Lobby 2 because, and I'll remind everyone, all the viewers here, we have Asta Racing, Gridline Racing, Hassel 1 Motorsport, Me Cooke Driver Development, Team Capital, and Eugen Global. So prepare to see Matt Donetti, Nick Pfaff, Andrew Scott, Scott Taylor all go at it. This is going to be a completely different round. I think we're going to see a lot of aligned strategies. I think we're going to see a lot of close racing. Not to say that Lobby 1 was not exciting. It was incredibly good racing as well. I think this Lobby 2 is going to be very close.
Yeah, well, as we always said over the last 3 years since we've been doing TCR racing or TCR Cup coverage, it's always been either Division 2 or Lobby 2 was always the most exciting one. And I feel like now the stars have aligned. We've got the top, we've got some of the strong teams out there. Me Cougar, triple champions, teams champions, drivers champions in both divisions. Then you've got Eugen Global, one of the newcomers from the manufacturer Cup, obviously in the hands of Matt Donetti and Matthew Joynson. You've got Gridline Racing, a staple of MotorMotion E-Series. Scott Taylor has been very impressive when it comes to tuning and driving style, when it comes to tyres and fuel. Learning, of course, with some tuition from his former teammate from the COVID years in Andrew Scott, who was actually a part of Gridline Racing many moons ago, and has a very strong connections with Scott Taylor's team. So it's going to be very exciting, George. I really am looking forward to this one. The drivers are ready to go. They are going to be super competitive, and we might see maybe potentially, I would say, a bit of strategic masterclass. I'm going to call some strategies here. A bit of push and shove. Maybe go for a bit of a dive bomb move. I think we're going to see a couple of dive bombs. There's going to be a lot of risky strategies, I feel like, in this race.
That's going to be interesting. Let's see what we've got for qualifying, and it is Andrew Scott on top at 2:08.839. So that is nearly a second faster than what we saw in Lobby 1. Bear in mind, of course, folks, Lobby 1, Lobby 2 are not division splits. It's a round-robin rotation of the teams. We just so happen to have some of the fastest guys in the track today. Ryan Spann in second. It's a 1-2 lockout from Me Cougar, 2:08.9 for him, so he's awfully close to his teammate, a 0.13 gap between the two of them. Me Cougar are looking very, very strong in this Lobby 2 already, and we've only just looked at the qualifying results. Then it's Nick Pfaff for Asta Racing. No surprise to see him up there. He's the first person on the second row of the grid, a 2-minute 09.379, so 4/10 behind our first position man of Andrew Scott. Then it's Scott Taylor, fourth place. So two Scotts in different positions in their name, and then also different positions on the grid. He rounds out the second row of the grid for Gridline Racing, 2:09.6. So a little bit of a gap I'm sensing here. 3 teams in the top 4, but Me Cougar, this is a performance in qualifying.
Oh, they've just turned it up to the 11, George, haven't they? These guys, they show up, they put in all the practice, they come in, properly prepared. They've got their supercomputer, as Andrew Scott always alludes to from the past 3 seasons of TCR Cup coverage. That computer is working very strong, and it's developed a 1-2, but only just attempt splitting the 2 drivers. So Ryan Spann, not too far away from Andrew Scott. It kind of reminds you of the inter-battles that we are seeing at the moment in the Formula One world with the McLaren team, with Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, very close and competitive in lap times as teammates. That's what I'm kind of seeing here between these Me Cougar guys. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't saw what we saw in the Canadian Grand Prix over the past couple of weekends. We don't see contact between Andrew Scott and Ryan Spann. So I'm excited for it. Lobby 2 is going to come up very shortly.
Oh, it certainly will. Here we go. So I'm not sure what we do in terms of predictions here. Let us know in chat, of course, about your predictions. You are watching, of course, on the TrackSpot TV and the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channels. Check out all of our website links, of course, for Mercury Walch at www.mercurywalch.com.au for all your digital printing needs. A big thanks to them for sponsoring TCR Cup Season 4. Thanks to TrackSpot TV for providing the broadcasting and commentary coverage, as always, broadcasting partners with MotorMotion E-Series. www.trackspot.tv. And then, of course, MotorMotion E-Series. I mean, what would we be doing if we weren't if we didn't have our lovely league organizers bringing us the racing? So we will make sure you check them out, of course, www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. I think, Nick, as I understand it, the cars are ready to go. So let's get out on track and get Lobby 2 started. Yeah, the lights going on. We are focused on the top at the moment. 20 laps of racing, and Andrew Scott will lead us away with Ryan Spann in second. Green flag racing has begun, and a good launch there from Nick Pfaff by all accounts. He's gotten off the line quite nicely. Andrew Scott as well does tuck back into that slipstream area. We're going to see some jostling for positions early on. A good start from all the top 6, and they are line astern heading out through the tunnel. It is nighttime here at Tokyo Expressway for Lobby 2, so prepare to be dazzled by the lights out on track. It's going to be a stunning watch, as it was when the sun was setting beforehand. Behind them, Nick Pfaff pulling out of the slipstream, trying to make a move. He's in the number 1 car, MJ's Mobile. He's got the outside line on Ryan Spann. Will that work out in his favor? Looks like a little bit of touching between the 2 cars as they head through turn 1, back into line astern. There's nothing separating the top 6 at the moment. Scott Taylor has clipped the wall, but manages to, no, it wasn't him, that was Ryan Spann, has clipped the wall on the racing soft though for Scott Taylor, and trying to keep pace with Nick Pfaff. He's got Luke Stone right behind him. Then we've got Mark Pacheco and Matthew Joynson stepping in as well. What a lobby this is, Nick. This has given me some serious flashbacks to TCR Cups of season past.
Oh, absolutely, and it's just some great start there. We saw Nick Pfaff there just getting all unsettled there through the corner, so he's lost a lot of ground to the Cougar cars, which is giving Scott Taylor an opportunity to go around the inside. Brave move there on the opening lap there by Scott Taylor, but Nick Pfaff is trying to get it around back on the outside there. Strong moves there, understeer for Scott Taylor. They're still going side by side. This is the first lap. Can Luke Stone get involved? He's showing the nose there. The 2 drivers going side by side. Nick Pfaff gets that whole heap of understeer. He's lost that position to Scott Taylor, and Mark Pacheco has come from out of nowhere from 6th to 4th in the span of a couple of corners there. What a great drive. What a couple of moves there by Mark Pacheco. It is a front 2 Cougar driver development and a 3-4 grid line racing. And unfortunately, the biggest loser, contact between Nick Pfaff and Luke Stone there. And Nick Pfaff has gone, his night has gone from bad to worse, starting P3, down in P7, George.
Oh, wow. What a spicy opening lap that was. And we'll take our time to sort of analyze and digest what's gone on, as will you all need to do so as well. But the action's not over, that's for sure. Matthew Joynson wants a piece of the action as well. Luke Stone in P5. Pacheco is the one who got up ahead, and that is a brilliant run of form. So we've got 2 Cougar cars, then 2 Gridline racing cars, and these 2 are going to go at it. Will there be team orders? Is Scotty going to be the one to be let and kept ahead? Are they working together? They should be. They should be using that bump draft as much as possible to break away from Luke Stone, who made an awfully large lunge into turn 12, but managed to get up ahead of Matthew Joynson and Nick Pfaff. And Pfaff, as you said before, having a shocker, and he's picked up damage. It's just like what happened with Dubzito in Lobby 1. There's Skippy skipping off the wall, as we like to say. Unfortunately, not skipping around the track in the pace that he needs to. Shane Attard is the one chasing him down. But this battle of the top 7 starting to peter out back towards the P6 area. The rest of them all still going at it. But look at the Cougar cars. They're gone. They've disconnected. They've discombobulated, and they're driving away with it.
Yeah, great strategy there by the Cougar boys. They were pretty much line astern there going into that first corner on the opening lap there. You can see the cars. There was a little bit of squabble there with Nick Pfaff trying to go around the outside, as we have a couple of moves being made here by Luke Stone on Mark Pacheco around the outside. Lovely move there by Luke Stone in the 53 Castrol Racing Honda Civic to split the gridline racing drivers into P4. But yeah, they were really working hard with each other just to try and with Ryan Spann just trying to defend away from Nick Pfaff and just try to make sure that he didn't mount any charge on one of the drivers there.
3 wide.
And just go 3 wide. Could you see that's happening there? 3 wide going into the hairpin. Matthew Joynson braver on the brakes there. Can he hold it? And he does. That's 2 for 1 for Matthew Joynson.
Oh, wonderful stuff. Matthew Joynson came out of the woodwork on that one, got into the right position, had the speed into the braking zone, got it slowed down, took the shorter line to getting back onto that accelerator. Wonderful work by Matthew Joynson. Fantastic stuff. Yugen Global have put their car up into P4. Contenders as well, of course, as we well know, because the team is Matt Donetti and Matthew Joynson. Joynson, of course, a long-standing member of MotorMotion E-Series in multiple series. Great to see him back here. He streams as well, and being a teammate to Matt Donetti, they are going to have the screws very much tightened well on those wheels. Pacheco and Luke Stone still going at it. Luke Stone wants a piece of the action. Again, he's chomping at the bit. He wants it. Is he going to try the outside line? That's never really worked. You can defend the outside. You can't really defend unless you're on the inside line, but picks up speed, smashes into the back of Pacheco. We thought this was going to be elbows out. It's elbows and everything out.
Absolutely. I have a feeling that Mark Pacheco might be on the medium tyres. That's probably why he's not making a lot of inroads if we get some information there. It's not just, no, he's on soft tyres, but he's got damage. So that's the reason why he's been dropping down the order so far. So as much as he was making great progress from P6 to P4 and on the opening lap, now drops back down to P5 with a bit of suspension damage with front, a left tyre damage on that Gridline Racing Motorsport entry. Sadly for him, he's going to be having a bit of a hard race now to try and see if he can catch back up to his teammate. But it is Ando Scott and Ryan Spann, 1 and 2 for me, Cooke driver development. Just like we saw in Lobby 1 with the Mad Turtles finishing 1 and 2. Will it finish 1 and 2 for the Gridline Racing boys? And that is hard damage for Mark Pacheco there. So it looks like that wheel has just gone wayward and it's actually given him some massive understeer on the car, and he's picked up both sides of the car, George,
yeah,
both left and right hand side of the front.
Yeah, exactly. It was the right hand side, then he's gone and smashed into the left, and he's taken the front bumper with him. That's through turn 10, I believe. Nasty accident there for Pacheco, and boy, oh boy, what was looking like a really good run for Pacheco and Gridline Racing has started to really start to unfold. Not great to see, of course, and Luke Stone will be happy to see that. The number 53 Castrol car will come on through, and he can start his charge after Matthew Joynson. Luke Stone's clearly got a lot of pace today. Whether or not he's going to be able to show it, he certainly couldn't behind Pacheco, who had the damaged car. Now Matthew Joynson with that miraculous overtake, nearly taking the fastest lap there as well. Luke Stone putting in a 209.830 to take it away from Andrew Scott. We'll start talking strategies in a minute because these two are going for it, working together like absolute champions. Ryan Spann doing his duty as the second driver. Scotty no longer able to do that with his teammate Pacheco for Gridline Racing. These guys are going to be driving to an absolute number, and the fact that they're both 1 and 2 out there at the front, they can control this race. They don't need pace. You can already see 210.2. We know his ultimate pace is in the 208s, Nick. So this is a high level of control being executed by the Me Cougar team, and this is exactly what we expect to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And these guys are just controlling this race. They're looking to try and extend their stints.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, Nick, but their last lap, both of their last laps were 210.283. Identical times between the two. There we go. To make a point even more subtly, I don't think it's possible.
Absolutely, he's running to a number, and I'm not sure that number has definitely worked out perfectly in that calculation. Probably that was to the nearest millisecond, I'll think, between both Ando Scott and Ryan Spann. But yeah, as mentioned before, yeah, these guys are definitely running to a number. They are controlling the race here as well. Whilst you've got the rest of the pack there, Scott Taylor, Matthew Joynson, Luke Stone, Mark Pacheco, these guys are duking it out. They're trying to go for fastest laps here. But you can even see there with Scott Taylor. Scott Taylor is always a bit of a dark horse here. He shows some great pace at Autopolis round 1, round 2 here tonight, running P3, running roughly about the same lap times as the Me Cougar boys up in 1 and 2. But you got to keep an eye on him. He's always going to be a bit of a dark horse, even with the big guns like Ando Scott and Ryan Spann. Watch for him to maybe throw a surprise towards the end of the race here. But Matthew Joynson, Luke Stone, I think these guys are going for outright pace. These guys are looking for fast pace. You can definitely see with Yugen Global, their car looks really, really slippery, and that car is lightning fast on the straight.
Yeah, so we'll see if the setup comes back to bite them. It may well do, but we'll see. I mean, Joinson at the moment had a great launch off the start. He's going to try and launch an attack around the outside. It's been closed off, though, by Scott Taylor, and that is a notable feature of racing against Scott Taylor. Very fair, very balanced, but very hard defending. And certainly when he's attacking, I've been subject to strategy execution of his versus mine, and I came out second. Let's just put it that way. So Scott Taylor is a fierce competitor, and he's always done the work. He's always got the strategy up his sleeve, and he doesn't mind being overtaken. You'll see here, he won't fight this. If Matthew Joinson does manage to get past, he's not going to fight too hard. But if he does choose to, we shall see. He does choose to. They're side by side through under the bridge. Scott Taylor wants to keep this position right now, and this will work to his favor. Matthew Joinson behind means that Matthew Joinson's strategy is going to be a little bit held up.
Yeah, but I've also noticed as well on the opening few laps here, lap 5 of 20, so about a quarter of the race deep into this event here in round 2 for the Mercury Walch TCR Cup, that the Yugen Global, when he made the move on Luke Stone, when he went around the outside 2-for-1 deal on Luke Stone and Mark Pacheco, as soon as he exited that corner, that Luke Stone and Mark Pacheco couldn't actually close up to the back end of Matthew Joyce's, because that car was pulling away like crazy. So I'm very keen to see what the top end is going to be like in Matthew Joyce's Honda Civic Yukon Global 777, the famous number of Matthew Joyce's 777, represented back in the past with PLE Motorsports, PLE Esports rather, and Street to Track, and now with Yukon Global, Matt Donetti's team. Very staple household name, Matt Donetti, but unfortunately, it's not nowhere near the top 8, so I wonder where he might be, whether he's actually participating tonight or whether he might be down the order there. But
Let,
looking at the top end speed here, we'll have to look at Matthew Joinson. Is he going to go for that move? Is he going to go for the bump drive? He goes out for the move, so 260 kilometers an hour on the Honda Civic as the speed declines, as there is a bit of an uphill rise there. Scott Taylor pulls him behind, but Scott Taylor's not able to make any moves just yet. 261, 262. That is some handy pace there on the Yukon Global Honda Civic there. Can Scott go for the inside move? Does he go late on the brakes? No, sticks right behind, and that is Matthew Johnson up into P3. But as you said, George, Scott Taylor's happy for Johnson to go ahead because the strategy might come back and favour Scott later on.
Yeah, exactly. And the race at this point will now start to slow down a little bit as the strategies start to come into play. Matthew Joinson going hammer and tong at the moment. And yeah, at the end of the day, Scotty couldn't hold on. He was fighting the position this time. Didn't really want to let Matthew Joinson get on past. And it was through here that they went side by side. Really good racing by the two of them. But any further racing is going to cause Luke Stone to start to creep up on them. He's only a stone's throw away, excuse the pun, at the moment. So any closer, and they'll both be starting to get worried as they exchange a little bit of paint with the concrete barrier. Fantastic stuff. Let's go through the grid as it stands right now. See purple sector there from Scott Taylor. So he's putting the foot down and going for it. It is Andrew Scott currently leading the way in the 787 Me Cougar car. Then it is Ryan Spann in P2, followed by Matthew Joinson. Then it's Scotty, Luke Stone, Pacheco, still holding that damage of course until that lap 8 mark, where we expect to see a lot of the drivers come into pits. That'll be something that'll become a talking point in a few laps' time. Then it's Nick Pfaff in P7. He's really dropped off, but he's the one of the top 7, the only one on the racing medium tyre. So damage and racing medium, expect to see him off the pace a little bit until that pit stop. Then it's Shane Attard in P8, followed by Skippy. And the regular joke from Trevor Byers is that he's skipping along, Skippy the kangaroo, but I'm sure he doesn't appreciate that. Maybe he does. Either way, then it's Hogs in P10, followed by Hasseldine. And yes, does look like Donetti is not able to race today in Lobby 2, so that's a shame. That it's put an ever so slight damp towel on our hopes of having all the top guys absolutely go for it in this lobby. Nonetheless, we're still getting an absolutely wild race out the top. And Me Cougar continue to extend this lead. They're doing 267 down the straight with the bump draft. They are going for it. Another Sector 1 purple for Ando.
You can't see the cars behind them. Like, that's the thing. Like, even the cameras are not picking them up. As Scott Taylor looks like he's just made a move now out of the slipstream and made the move on Matthew Joinson. But right up close on the barriers there between the two drivers, Matthew Joinson and Scott Taylor. This is some brilliant racing there, but Joinson does have to concede there. But as I was just looking in that when Ando and Spanny were going bump drafts, and you couldn't see third place at all with the camera shot. They were so far ahead, and it just shows the dominance that me Cooke have. It's all in their strategy now. That has to go to plan A. Nothing. There cannot be a plan B, plan C, because if one of them does get damaged, it can turn the race on its head.
Yeah, and I'd want to call something out, and we're on board at the moment with Matthew Joynson. Notice that there's no lines, no blue lines, no nothing around the edge of his rear tyres. And I'm going to show you something in a few moments' time. A little bit of an inside move there for Scotty, just to try and hold on to the position. You can run very wide out through turn 9, then you've got to tuck it back in for turn 10, and then turn 11. Very tricky corners to get absolutely right. See a lot of leaning on the tyres, maybe a little bit too much into the apex there. Does get the rotation. Matthew Joynson. Nick, I want you to have a little look at this. Maybe you can help explain this to myself and to the viewers. Have a look at Scotty's tyres. You see that little blue outline on his rear tyres at the moment. Joynson does not have that. For those who do not know what that is, you want to try and explain what's going on.
So yeah, so you can definitely see that the blue outline on the card there is that it's not really generating any heat at all. So the tires are cold. Yes, they are wearing, but but because there's no heat that's going onto the rear of the car, it's basically not generating enough heat to actually have the grip. Because obviously, as these cars are front wheel drive, and they are all driven with the front wheels on these Honda Civics, that the rear tires and the rear side of the car is practically not needed at all. All you need the car to do is just basically keep the car straight, just try not to slide about too much. And yeah, I think it's just the case that because the blue rings is just basically there's not enough heat generated on those rear tires, despite you know trundling down at 260, 270 kilometers down the straight there. That it doesn't generate enough heat because all the brakes and everything is all set to the front.
Excellent. Thank you for the insights. We appreciate that. And it might have something to do with the rear camber, because most of that wheel for the Gridline racing car appears to be off the ground. So we've got a few in the pits as well. Nick Pfaff, Shane Attard, both in the pits. I think Luke Stone might have come to the pits. He might not have. There's a few others who have. Skippy as well. So the pit stops have started. We're on lap 8 out of 20 in Gridline Racing. Scotty Taylor still holding on in some cases by the skin of his teeth. But he's doing a great job defending against a very quick Matthew Joynson. Both tyres coming to the end of their life. The fuel tank running on fumes at this point. And let's just do a little comparison here, Nick, to what we're seeing with the Mikuga guys. A little bit more fuel on board. Tyre life looking about the same, though. So really, it's just the fact that they've been working together, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Span has actually saved just a little bit of fuel, more fuel compared to Anders Scott, obviously being in that slipstream and being literally only 2/10, 3/10. I think the biggest margin I saw between them was only 5/10 between these guys for 8 laps. To run 8 laps consistently with your teammate on the same pace, on the same strategy, is actually really strong here. So I'll be very keen to see what happens on lap 20 of 20 if these guys are 2/10, 3/10 separated.
Here we go. Here we go, into the pits for our leaders, Ando and, of course, Spanny, Ryan Span. We'll see these two jump into the pits as well. The question is going to be how much fuel are they going to take on board? Will Pacheco get the repairs done? He'll have to come in too because the fuel has run out on his car. Luke Stone did come into the pits, in fact. He's back out now on the racing medium tyre with pretty much a full tank of fuel. One day I'll say that sentence correct. It won't be today, though, apparently. But the number 53 looking strong, and the medium tyres are out. But interestingly, Nick, he's filled up the fuel tank. So he's not gone for that 50% strategy we saw in Lobby 1.
No, he hasn't. So I think because he put it on lap 7, so he definitely knows that he can't make the lap 8 mark where he can actually go for a 50% fuel run. Whereas looking at about 4 to 5 laps on the medium tires. But Spanny has actually got the jump on Ando, and this is the key thing, ladies and gentlemen. When you are working with your teammate, you can make the jump in the pit lane with the percentage of fuel. They came in only tenths, hundredths close to each other, and Spanny had 6%, Ando had 4%, and saw the fuel numbers here, George, and the two boys in the Big Cougar are 1 and 2, but roles reversed now. Ryan Span in the lead ahead of his experienced teammate in Ando Scott.
Well, let's see if the what was it, the Auto 21 or whatever the command is that switches the driver. Let's see if Andrew Scott decides as the team owner to switch the cars around. I don't think he will. He's not that kind of person. But for the first time in TCR Cup Season 4, Ryan Spann is leading a race. He's got half a lap under his belt so far, and that is set to continue because these guys are working together. I don't think there'll be any feelings lost at all if Ryan Spann did end up coming out ahead. He was able to save a little bit of fuel and then took the same amount basically as Ando. But Ando took a little bit more fuel. That's what the difference was between these two. But as long as they're within slipstream range, I don't think there'll be any feelings lost between the two. But we might see a little bit of a scrap at the end, which would be very interesting. Now, Scott Taylor, Ryan
That's
has
wide.
got to... He's very wide and has got to get used to being the driver in the lead and not following. Right now, I think Ando might be thinking, you know what, I'll just overtake and just take control of this race again. Let's see, will he do it into turn 12? No. They are playing the no-risk strategy. Get to the end and go for it. That's wide again from Ryan Spann. And actually, that is going to start to slow them up just that little bit. Interestingly, Scott Taylor not too far behind on the mediums and doing the exact same strategy. I wonder if he's been given the key pass to the Cooke supercomputer this season.
He must be on the dream what's it called? I'm just trying to remember that web dream site or something. Dreamware or Dreamviewer or something. I'm trying to remember the actual name of it, where you can actually take control. Dreamcast, that's the one. There you go. The ones where you can actually take control of someone else's computer, and you can, and they look at you, they look at their mouse and say, what's my mouse? What's my screen doing? I'm not even controlling anything. It's like a personal hacker for Scott Taylor.
He's got the backdoor password. He's in there scanning all the results, getting all the information that he wants. And purple again go the Cougar boys. These two absolutely superfluous this race. And really, at the end of the day, we need to give them a little bit of camera time. Otherwise, we kind of see the result happening in this lobby. We're halfway through the race. A little bit of a touch of the wall there for Ryan Spann, still leading. He's got one lap under his belt as leading car in the race. Then it's Scott Taylor. And I think this strategy is going to work out well. Scott Taylor's done really good so far. However, Matthew Joinson is going for the slightly alternative, admittedly paint scraping strategy of going back onto the racing softs with a full tank of fuel. So medium stint at the end with a splash and dash.
We saw this in Lobby 1 as well. We saw two drivers going for a race for a soft, medium finish. So Matthew Joinson is trying a different strategy, the alternate strategy. I would say probably the safest strategy would be to throw on the mediums right now, as what the top three are doing at this moment. But Matthew Joinson, the first man on the racing soft tyres, Luke Stone, Nick Pfaff on the racing mediums as well. So Joinson trying something different here, but he's got a huge gap towards himself and Scott Taylor. These guys, you have to remember, these guys were pretty much bumper to bumper going into the pit lane, but with Scott Taylor putting less fuel, half fuel tank less than Matthew Joinson. It's not sure about this, George, because he's got a full tank of fuel. He's going to run into about lap 16 and then a short stint on the medium tyres at the end when the fuel is down, coming towards the end with drivers on faster compounds. I'm not so sure, because you have to keep an eye on Luke Stone is not too far behind, and Nick Pfaff, who is definitely what we know as the reigning champion in the previous season. He can definitely throw some hands and try and get himself back up towards the front.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's the theory crafting behind the strategy, isn't it? Racing softs with the full fuel tank, you're offsetting the cost to the weight increase of running full fuel. But you're doing that even better. If you're running the mediums with a half tank of fuel, it's a lighter car on the slower tyre. So you're actually increasing the speed of the medium tyres. I think that's why we've seen the winning strategies so far today primarily being soft, medium, soft. Because you're running the full fuel tank with the soft tyre, you can really go, pretty hard on the tyres during those stints. You're really leaning on it. You're letting the weight balance of the car and the fuel tip around the fuel tank and really put pressure on the tyres. But then with the medium tyre, you're offsetting the slowness. It was a 2-second gap on this circuit between the softs and the mediums. It
is, absolutely. The pace difference is huge. Obviously, if we look at what Luke Stone is doing, who's one of the first drivers on the racing mediums, a 2-minute 11.324 compared to Matthew Joinson on the last lap. I believe he set the same time as well, at 2-minute 11.2. So yeah, so these guys are basically doing the same time, but two different compounds here. So whether Luke Stone is right on it with the pace on his medium tyres, or whether Matthew Joinson may have made a mistake on that previous lap and we haven't seen the true pace, because we know Johnson's true pace is 2 minute 9.9. We have seen that in his first stint on the racing soft tyres, but potentially a mistake being made on the soft tyres. And the thing is, if you are going for that soft tyre strategy, you shouldn't be making mistakes. It's 8 laps. It is basically 8 laps of qualifying laps. No mistakes, no running wide, getting your braking points right, because you have to make this work, because you're running a different strategy compared to other drivers around the field that are on the mediums. You need to make this work.
Yeah, well, and just to throw another strategy into the mix of the tapestry that's building so far, racing softs and half tank fuel. I don't know if he actually took more fuel. He might well have. Surely he hasn't been out there for only a few laps. Let's see, lap 7 was when Faf came in, and he's already burnt through a lot of the racing soft tires, and he's at less than half a tank of fuel. So maybe this is another alternative strategy. Nick Faf trying to bring himself back into this race. Which he obviously had that issue early on in lap 1. We ended up with the getting kind of sort of shoved out of the contest at the top of the grid by some really clever, good racing by the likes of Matthew Joynson.
Yeah, P3 to P7, unfortunately for Nick Faf, who got caught up in that massive gaggle of cars where Mark Pacheco made a move from P6 to P4, but Nick Faf was definitely the worst offender out of all of that, and he dropped all the way down the back. So this is basically a recovery drive for him. And what I'm noticing here as well, look at the top speed here, 252, 253. Remember what we saw with Matthew Joynson? We saw about 264. And that was before, before they got to the braking zone. So we're looking at that pace there. Some strong pace by the Cooke Global, but Nick Faf just is looking like the gearbox is a little bit. It's not really working for him. It's a little bit too long in the 5th and 6th gear region. He's not able. The car's not able to pull on that back straight and not really attach itself onto anyone's rear bumper and gain speed.
Yeah, and obviously he's done that this time. Was able to get past Luke Stone just a moment ago on that main straight. Hit about 262 or so, but yeah, by himself certainly doesn't look like the car maybe has the pace that it needs to, but looks strong through the corners. And there's always two philosophies when it comes to setting up a car, Nick. There's fast in the straights or fast in the corners. Generally speaking, the track is the one that pushes the finger on the scale, so to speak. And this track, certainly, you want to be running so that you're fast on the straights. That's absolutely key. Such a long straight. I don't know how many kilometers it is. It's purple. There we go. Wow.
And that's first 14 purple on Spanish lap time. So I feel like yeah, your theory could be right there. He definitely has gone for a higher aero package compared to what we've seen with the other drivers. So we'll wait and see if he actually gets a really solid foundation here. We'll see if he can get himself into the 2-minute, low 2-minute 9, 2-minute 8. But here comes the two Cooke boys into the pit lane, 9%, 11%. So here we go. This is an interesting one, George. Roles reversed here. Ando has saved 2% more fuel than Spanny, and it was the other way around. So let's see what happens. Let's see if it's going to be a bit of a role change between these two drivers.
Yes, I suspect this was all planned out, and they thought to themselves, well, look, you're going to have to starting first, you're going to finish first. Second stint, of course, that's switched around. Ryan Spann led about 6 laps, no, 4 laps of the race or so. So Scott Taylor's also in on the same strategy. Let's see if Ando comes out ahead. Should be. They're fueling up to full fuel. There we go, out on the racing softs. And there we go. Yep, it is Ando in front, then it's Ryan Spann. So very, very good stuff by these guys. They've, I mean, this is strategy execution perfection. I don't think the computers could do better than this, to be honest with you.
No, definitely not. And just backing up on that point with Nick Faf, he's just thrown in a 2-minute 8.906 there on that previous lap. So there's some strong pace there.
Here we go.
There, P1 with the momentum on the back straight has gone past Spanny. Don't think he's going to get past Ando around the outside. He does. He cuts the nose off the Cooke, gets it done, stick and clean. Oh, but contact on the wall there. This is going to hold him up there with potentially Scott Taylor gaining some few tenths here and there on Skippy here. But Ando and Spanny, this is not what they wanted. They don't want traffic. Ando looks like he's about to clear Skippy around the outside, and he does. Ryan Spann, can he make the move done? He needs to get past him through as quickly as he can. Shoves the nose down the inside and just barges him out of the way, say, get out of here. And that's a heart and mouth moment there for Cooke. Then almost the strategy almost went the wrong direction suddenly, but with the Spann within a heartbeat, it just gone back to normal.
Yeah, exactly right. And Skippy there just throwing a little bit of a spanner into the works, which is nice to see. Good to see the top guys getting challenged, but I think Ando backed out into that turn one, didn't really want to end up with a car between them, and just said, look, we're going to wait until there's an opportunity for both of us to get past. Ryan Spann did very well to navigate that, and of course Skippy's on the medium tyre as well, so really was just going to be a matter of time. We said the only way you can overtake between turn 1 and turn 11 is if you're on a soft and your opponent is on a medium tyre. It's exactly what's happened, and now Cooke are good to continue their execution of strategy. Certainly was a bit of a moment for Skippy. I'm sure getting into that situation, he's going, well, what do I do? Do I slow down and risk getting Shane Attard involved in this battle? Those two are currently locked in quite the battle for P7 at the moment, racing medium tyres on both of them. So you wouldn't have wanted to slow down. You really just wanted to say, okay, I've got the overspeed. I'm going into turn 1. I'm going to brake late. I'm going to overtake. Ando said, well, look, we've got to let him do that. He's got the overspeed at the moment. No point challenging that as Luke Stone comes into the pit lane and will be re-emerging in short order. But yes, fortunately for them, it all worked out quite nicely. Mark Pacheco in P3. He'll be coming in for his medium stint at some point. Nick Pfaff will be doing that this lap. He'll have 5 to go on the remaining part of his stint. A little bit of damage on Matthew Jointson's car. I can't remember if that was carried over from earlier in the race or not, but certainly has been a standout today in Lobby 2. On the 14th lap, he's been setting very consistent times. A little bit of a jump between the 211s and the 210s, but overall pretty close together. And now currently, provisionally, leading our race until this next round of pit stops do start to occur, which will be for Matthew Jointson probably in about, 3 or 4 laps time. We'll see. He's got plenty of fuel on board, but it won't be quite enough to get to the end, I don't think.
Plenty of fuel, but he's also racing Luke Stone as well. But the disadvantage that Matthew Johnson has, he's going to be on racing medium tyres towards the end, and Luke Stone has come out on a fresh set of racing softs. So it's going to be very tight, but also Matthew Johnson has to spend a little bit of time in the pit lane repairing the damage. So it'll be very close between Johnson and Stone when they come out of the pit lane, but I have a feeling, I think Johnson is going to be fighting a bit of a battle that he won't be able to hold, unfortunately, being on a tyre that's roughly around about 2.5 seconds slower than the soft tyre.
That said, we did see Campbell Knowles do an incredibly good job defending. Nick Pfaff peels into the pits on 0% fuel, so nice work there by him. He'll go out onto his third stint, I should say, in a few moments' time. But back to the point, I mean, Campbell Knowles in Lobby 1, defensive masterclass. He held off the soft runner Dubzito for a number of laps, so it is possible to do. The question is going to be, how hard does Matthew Johnson want to fight that, and can he be clever enough to cover off those apexes in the braking zones to avoid a soft runner coming on through at the end of this race? Pacheco will probably be in a similar position as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then, of course, Cooke still doing their thing here on the 15th lap of this race. So Pfaff in, Skippy's in, Shane Attard's in, Hogues is in as well in that Castrol livery 97 Honda Civic. Great to see. And then, of course, there's Luke Stone. He'll come through and lap all of them, puts himself back up into P7 in this race with Pfaff just going out ahead of him. They're going to be pretty close on track at some point soon. Softs for Luke Stone and softs for Pfaff. So Nick Pfaff will be starting that charge, and he's got a lot of work to do.
Has Pfaff actually used the racing mediums? I'm trying to remember if he actually...
I believe, yes. So in stint 1, he was the only one of the top 7 that had the medium tyre on. So he started on the mediums.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so that's actually interesting. So he's actually made big gains on the drivers ahead of him. So yes, while he was... So if he was on the mediums at the start of the race, he's actually made a huge gain on Luke Stone. So there's some really good race strategy there. And I was thinking more of the same thing as well. Like, if you are down the pack, if you're in the middle of that pack, what would you actually think about throwing on a racing medium tyre? Obviously, being in a very highly competitive field like this one here tonight, with the likes of Cooke, Gridline Racing, Yugen Global, Asta Racing, Team Capital, you're looking at these teams. Are you looking to throw yourself on a racing medium tyre? And I think that's what Nick Pfaff is doing. But is that the right decision, as he has a bit of a wiggle coming onto the fast left-hander? Being on a medium tyre at the beginning is it is tricky, but it's all about having that pace. You know, you have to stick with the front guys. You can't lose the draft. You can't lose the slipstream. But unfortunately, with Nick Pfaff, dropping from P3 all the way down to P7 at the end of the first lap, it did hamper him a lot, and he really suffered the most. So
Yeah.
P6 potentially might be sealing himself up for a P4 at the end of this race because Johnson and Mark Pacheco have to be jumping on these medium tires. But to me, if you wanted to make that strategy work, he had to stay with those Mini Cougar boys.
Yeah, exactly. And he wasn't able to get into a position to hold anyone up on the racing medium tire, which is, if you're going to start on the slower tire, generally speaking, what you need to aim to do is to hold up everyone else's strategy. Build yourself that strategy gap where essentially every second, every corner that you stop a soft tire person overtaking you while you're on the slower tire, you're gaining ground in the overall race time. And that's massive, but that didn't happen for Nick Pfaff. That said, fastest lap still with him, 2:08.906. So he is the fastest man out on track currently, and that'll remain the same. Obviously, he's just had to push and push and push this car to the raggedy edge to really make up any progress. Ahead of him is Scott Taylor, but I don't think there's any real hope there in the remaining 4 laps of this race for Pfaff to catch up, especially if Scotty keeps on going purple through Sector 2, which he's just done. So the question's going to be now, where do Pacheco and Matthew Joynson filter back in to the fray here? They haven't got that much of a gap, but we'll see Matthew Joynson and Pacheco both come into the pits this lap.
Yeah, absolutely, and both of them are going to be putting half a tank in of the fuel going into the car and medium tires. But looking at the track map, you can definitely see the Mini Cougar boys are about to approach the hairpin 1 and 2. Then you've got Scott Taylor not too far behind there, literally on the same tarmac now at the beginning, before the hairpin. You can see if we see the car coming down the highway. Yes, there you go. But then you've got also Nick Pfaff and Luke Stone that are coming up just 2 corners behind Scott Taylor at the moment. So it's going to be close. I think Matthew Johnson might be able to squeeze in just in between those two, but there is a tyre difference between the cars. It's soft tyres versus 4 laps on a medium. Half tank of fuel. I think that'll be the saving grace for Johnson and Mark Pacheco, but it could come down to the wire.
Here we go, 40 litres in the car for Joynson. Expecting to see a half tank used. 51 litres will come out, but the overspeed will be there for Scott Taylor. So there's Joynson. There goes Scotty. So Scotty is still holding on beautifully to that P3 position. Executed his strategy very, very well today. And Joynson and Pacheco will both filter out ahead of Nick Pfaff, but this is the battle. This is what we were talking about, Nick. It's softs versus mediums. Pacheco and Joynson have got to get these mediums up to temperature. They've got to get into the zone of driving on the medium for the first time this race, and Pfaff is coming up them with a fury. That last lap was a 209.5. We know he's capable of a 208, and with 4 laps to go, he can use every bit of that tyre that he wants.
Watch out for the reigning champion Nick Pfaff. Looking, he's going to go hard on the gas. He's going to go he's going to go full send. He's got 4 laps of qualifying laps to try and catch up to Mark Pacheco and Matthew Johnson. If Matthew Johnson and Mark Pacheco can hold on to it, it'll be some solid drives there. A great recovery drive for Mark Pacheco as well. He copped a fair amount of damage on his car, left and the right, the left side and the right hand side on the front of his car, and repairing that damage. He's done a fantastic job to get it back up into P5. It just shows, I feel like, just the car itself. Obviously, we've talked about the cars, we've talked about the teams setting up these cars with Mini Cougar and Gridline Racing. I feel like they are basically the two benchmarkers, I have a feeling, with this in this season 2025, or in season 4 of the Mercury Walch TCR Cup. I feel like these two are going to be the benchmarks when it comes to setup. Obviously, with Ando Scott and Ryan Spann in Mini Cougar, the top of the list. Gridline Racing, whether it doesn't matter if they're having a bad race or a very good race, their bad races can really give them some valuable points towards the end of this championship.
Yeah, and bear in mind, of course, with the round robin system, there'll be opportunities for Gridline to be racing without the Mini Cougar guys, and same for Mini Cougar. Obviously, in Lobby 1, Gridline Racing were completely dominant in Autopolis in their lobby. Mini Cougar were dominant in their lobby. They've already stapled themselves to the 2 teams who are going to be the ones to beat, and they've spent the hours. They've put the time in on the simulator. We joke a lot about the supercomputer, but at the end of the day, it's hours in the seat, racing, testing, seeing what's possible, seeing what's not possible. That's what's making the impact. for these teams at the moment. Good to see Jürgen Global up there. Matt Donetti and Matthew Joynson both extremely strong. So really, really strong driver lineup for these guys. They've got a bunch of work to do in the remainder of the season, but luckily for all of them, it's a 10-round season. So we've got 8 more races to go after this. So plenty of time to catch up and plenty of time also to make mistakes or see mistakes from these top 2 teams. If they don't get the strategy execution just right, well, then we might see them in a bit of a situation. But so far, Cooke and Gridline Racing certainly standing out from the rest of the pack as we barrel towards the last couple of races, laps of this race here at Tokyo Expressway. I just want to call out Tokyo Expressway for looking absolutely beautiful. I think it's possibly my favorite race in terms of the visuals in GT7. It's absolutely stunning. And we always come in with TCR. You have to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great backdrop. Obviously, the brand, the manufacturer, Honda, residing in Japan as well. So it's basically a bit of an homage for Honda to actually be racing on the streets of Tokyo. But you can just see the consistency with lap times. 2-minute 8.7 set by Ando Scott. So he's really put the hammer down. He says, you know what, I'm going to check out. But he's got his teammate right behind him, just keeping him company there. 2-minute 9.2 was his previous lap. But consistency in the wheels, in the hands of Spanny. But looking down the field there, we saw Mark Hasseltine rounding up the rear, Hodges down in 10th place. Shane Addard, a bit of a quiet race for him, was just closing up on P1 Skippy here at the moment in the car 15. So there's a great little battle there between Asta Racing and Skippy. Then Luke Stone, he had a bit of damage on his car, so he had to spend a little bit more time in the pit lane just to try and fix that up. But it was looking like a promising race here for Luke Stone. He's qualified pretty highly, but down in P7, not the result that he wanted. And there's Nick Pfaff, who's trying his absolute best to try and catch up to Mark Pacheco, who is on the racing medium tyres. But as I thought it was going to be a little bit closer, 2-minute 10.568. I'll be keen to see what Mark Pacheco's lap time is at the end of this lap between Nick Pfaff as they come across the line. Mark Pacheco holding on to P5 at the moment. If he comes across a 2-minute 10.8 versus Nick Pfaff, who's coming across the line now, 2-minute 9.8. So roughly around about the same pace. And there's not enough time, George, between Nick Pfaff to catch up to Mark Pacheco, and then Matthew Joynson, and then our top 3 at the moment, Ando Scott, Ryan Spann, and Scott Taylor.
Yeah, I think if he had 2 or 3 more laps, I think this would have been perfect for Nick Pfaff. But again, we've got to remember, he had a disaster start. It didn't work out for him. He got absolutely chewed up at the beginning by the soft runners. This is still a very good drive back. He's making a few mistakes on these final laps as well, which is not helping his cause at all. And if he was doing something closer to 208, then this would be working out just that little bit better for Nick Pfaff. But we know he'll be a strong contender this season. Today hasn't been his day. Pacheco's done enough on the medium tyre to reach the end and will likely be finishing in P5 unless there's some sort of accident either side of the track between for Pacheco. That could be the only thing that really puts a spanner in the work. Matthew Joynson as well has actually picked up damage. So that explains why there's a shorter gap. So he's made a mistake somewhere on those racing medium tyre, which is not ideal for him, but I don't think this will cost him a position. That said, Pacheco's getting awfully close.
It is very close. We saw this situation with Mark Pacheco getting both the front and the right-hand side of the car with damage in the middle of the race. But this is unfortunately not the last lap, but he's about to approach the final lap here. Matthew Joynson trying to fend off from Mark Pacheco. It's going to feel like an absolute eternity going down this front straight with all of that damage. You're basically turning the steering wheel or turning the joystick to the other side of the car. You're turning right to go left. It definitely doesn't work there. The car is literally crabbing along the straight there. But Mark Pacheco is going to get a lot of pace here. You can see the top end speed there, 247, 248, when we saw him running at about 264 at this point here, George. So that is a huge difference, 20 kph difference between the top speed. But Mark Pacheco, I think he's running around about the same pace as well, 252, 253. So yeah, that you could definitely tell that the Jürgen Global car is a jet on the straight.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the damage isn't as significant as maybe the graphic makes it out to be, but there's only a few kilometers difference. I mean, Pacheco was definitely faster on the straight. That was absolutely clear. He hasn't got a slipstream, so that's not playing any kind of effect at all on these. But yeah, Joinson was doing 252. There was 254, 5-ish for Pacheco. So Pacheco has got the pace, but it's not going to matter. There's not enough time for him to make up that gap, unless again there's another mistake. So if Joinson doesn't have a clean lap, he's in serious trouble. Same with Pacheco with Faf. So Faf's sitting back here with his with some sort of magical spell, trying to wish them curses through the radio or something to see if something will end up happening. But in the meantime, what a race, a quiet race, in fact, by these two. Ando is going to steal that fastest lap with a 2:08.7, so getting close to the qualifying pace. Ryan Spann has gone side by side temporarily with his teammate, and actually his teammate did not have a really good run out of the final corner. They're actually side by side, Nick. I wonder if this is going to be a photo finish between the two. Ryan Spann may back off. He's actually now in the lead. Ando takes it back. They're battling. They're battling. No team orders at me, Cougar. Across the line, it looks like it'll be Spann. Is it going to be Ando? Is it going to be Spann? It's Ryan Spann, your winner. Unbelievable stuff. And right at the end, I don't know if that was a team order out of turn 12 or not, but either way, Ryan Spann got the launch out of turn 12, hung it on the outside around Ando, and wins by a fraction of a nose. So well done, Ryan Spann. Did not see that one coming at all. Scotty takes P3, Joinson and P4 holds on, Pacheco P5, and we'll head over now to our race results. Wow, did not see that one coming. Let us know in chat if you did. Maybe Andrew Scott or Ryan Spann can let us know what happened there, but it was a nice wide line from Ryan Spann, got the acceleration and clearly said, you know what, I'm just going to race my teammate. I've been behind him for 75% of the race. We're just going to overtake him on the last moment, and by a hair's width. It is Ryan Spann, your winner today. Congratulations, Ryan Spann. Andrew Scott takes P2 for me, Cougar. It's another 1-2 finish for them, so 2 extra points for their team as well. So that's absolutely massive. Scott Taylor for Gridline Racing will take P3. Great race from him, consistent. Key early overtaking opportunities were taken advantage of by Scott Taylor. Get him up into P3. Then Matthew Joinson for Yugen Global and P4 held on against Mark Pacheco for Gridline Racing and Nick Pfaff for Astor Racing. Well, that was an interesting end to the race there, Nick. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm still confused, George. That's all I can say. Obviously, we did when we saw the back end of the race where Ando seemed to take a little bit of a narrow line, but Ryan Spann had a little bit more exit. I think Andrew Scott just had a little bit of understeer going into that final section of the corner, and then Ryan Spann got a perfect line. Yeah, I think it was just maybe the speed that Ryan Spann got over his teammate. And I'm pretty sure, because they were side by side, it's all about, ducking down, getting the helmets down, and just literally, trying to get a bit of slipstream like the old go-kart technique just to try and get as fast as you can on the straight. So literally helmet, bending yourself down nice and low under the steering wheel just to try and see if you could get an overspeed on your teammate. But he looked at his team boss and he said, you know what, yes, you might be one of the key contenders in this championship, but I'm not taking it easy on you, mate. Obviously, we did have Mick Hill, who was a champion at Me Cougar Driver Development, so potentially, with the Me Cougar being involved in the case of Ryan Spann, he is now putting his hand up to say, you know what, Ando, let's go.
Very much a meritocracy at Me Cougar, I'm sure. So I don't think there'll be any love lost between the two at all as a result of that. Ryan took his opportunity. He took it, and he's taken the win today. Massive congratulations. Okay, let's talk driver of the day. Let us know in chat who your driver of the day is. I'm going to start this time, and I'm not going to go into the realm of team of the day, because I think we know who that's going to be. I'm going to give it to Ryan Spann. And the reason I'm going to do that is he took his opportunity very, very well. Yes, he didn't qualify on pole position. That was Andrew Scott. But overall, a good race. He played the team game all the way through, executed the strategy, and took his opportunity where it came. So that's my driver of the day. Nick.
Yeah, and I would love to agree with you with Ryan Spann and Andrew Scott, like definitely worthy contenders. Scott Taylor as well, but I'm gonna have to go for a bit of a dark horse here. I'm gonna give it to Matthew Joynson in down in P4 for Yugen Global. Out of the blue, you know, the solo driver of Yugen Global, coming up with a different style of strategy, trying the alternate strategy of soft, soft, medium, but he really made that strategy work to perfection. And I was a little bit worried that he was going to get caught up by Nick Pfaff and Mark Pacheco towards the back end of the race. But to be, you know, one of the teams that is not, I guess that is not a Me Cougar or a Gridline Racing, to be, the best of the rest, I would say, as for the best of the rest, to have a Yukon Global car there, nearly making that step on the podium and just being offered in P4, I think it's definitely worthy of a driver of the day for Matthew Joynson. Strong performance, strong car, especially on the straights. Is a very slippery car on the straights there. Just needs to try and see if he can get that aero package for what's to come for them from round 3 onwards.
And that double overtake as well by Matthew Joynson really elevated him
Yeah,
into that
absolutely.
position.
Definitely did not forget about that whatsoever. It's just it's a two for one for Matthew Joynson there, and yeah, great performance there overall. Worthy driver of the day for Yugen Global. So everyone in the chat can let us know who their driver of the day is, if you agree with me or with George Cooke. But yeah, George, that concludes round 2 for us.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Lobby 2 certainly did not disappoint, as did not Lobby 1 as well. So great racing here at Tokyo Expressway. We love coming to the Tokyo circuits and Gran Turismo 7 for TCR Cup. It's been absolutely brilliant. That is going to be our coverage today. We'll round it out by giving you guys the full standings as they are after round 2. But before then, it's a big thank you to everyone in chat from myself, George Cooke, and Nick as well. Thank you for joining us in the commentary box, ladies and gentlemen. Welcoming back Nick Pautasso to the commentary box for TCR Cup. And this won't be the last time you see him either. But thanks very much, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here finally with you, George, and with your new platform at TrackSport TV. I'm very excited for this opportunity. I'm very humbled to be back in the commentary booth here at series, basically where I started and debuted my campaign back in the old PS4 days on Gran Turismo Sports. It was definitely not the way that we wanted to be streaming, but streaming has come a long way here at MotorMotion E Series, and being one of the commentators to be part of this team here at MotorMotion, from seeing it grow, and then especially now with your company as well, with TrackSpot TV growing as well. I'm very excited for what the future lies ahead and for the rest of 2025.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, we'll go over to our screen for the results. We'll see you over there in a few moments' time. Well, what an end to round 2. We've got 8 more rounds ahead of us. It's going to be exciting. But here's the driver standings, the top 6 as it stands right now. Andrew Scott on top for Me Cougar by 4 points. He's on 100, a nice round number. That'll set to change after round 3 and beyond. Ryan Spann in P2 for Me Cougar on 96 points, followed by Scott Taylor, Mark Pacheco, Campbell Knowles, and Nick Pfaff. Further down the grid, it is Lyle Rensburg for Mad Turtle Racing, equal on 80 points, 4 drivers. Chris Papa is in there in P8, Matthew Joynson P9, and Luke Stone P10, all equal on 80 points, followed by Michael Brill for Lightning Motorsport on 78 points, and David Crook in P12 on 68 points. In the team's title standings, Me Cougar are ahead. No surprise there at the moment. Will that be set to continue? We shall see. On 200 points at the moment, so 20 clear of Gridline Racing, and that is 2 back-to-back wins with the extra points for having drivers both finish in the top 3 in their lobby. Gridline Racing on 180 points in P2, followed by Lightning Motorsport on 158 points. They are set for a great championship, still ahead of Asta Racing. Chris Farapapa has been doing a wonderful job alongside Michael Brill to elevate that team up into P3. Asta Racing in P4 on 152 points, followed closely by Team 55 in 5th. And then P6, it is Team Capital. In the bottom of the grid for the team's title, it is Mad Turtle Racing, elevated massively by a great performance in Lobby 2 and Lobby 1 in round 2, I should say. Hassel 1 Motorsport in P8, followed by Yugen Global P9, Rusty Nuts Racing, CP Motorsports, and Black Rose Racing. Looking forward, of course, that was round 2 coverage today, and next time we have our first 90-minute round, and we are going to be only featuring one lobby. That'll be Lobby 1 this time, and then the second lobby will be round 7 for Lobby 2 coverage at Dragon Trail Gardens. But it is Bathurst next week. We are very much looking forward to returning to a glorious circuit. It's going to be lots of fun. Big thanks to our sponsor, Mercury Walch, www.mercurywalch.com.au, MotorMotioneSeries.wordpress.com, and trackspot.tv. Thank you all so much. We'll see you all for the next race.